Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Synchronicity with Lynn Monet. And tonight we have a great guest. We've got Dave Scott from SOR Radio, which we're going to be bringing in just a little bit. I just wanted to say hello to everybody. I hope everybody's having great weather where they're at and not overly affected by the pollen that's in the air right now. And also be aware that we're getting ready to go into Mercury retrograde. If anybody wants to reach out to me, my website is www.linmonet.com. I can be reached there, as well as which is my website, can also be reached at omnipresent.the.book@gmail.com, and my new page that is Synchronicity with Lynn Monet. So welcome, and I'd like to get right into this shortly. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dave Scott, because we've got a lot to talk about tonight. So Dave Scott is the creator and host of Canada's Space Out Radio. It runs Monday through Friday nights at spaceoutradio.com. He's a former radio journalist. Dave graduated with a diploma in broadcast communication from one of Canada's top broadcasting schools, the BCIT, in 1998. Dave then, excuse me, I'm sorry, I just lost my place. I apologize. Dave then spent nearly 10 years in radio, mostly working in sports, leaving the field to pursue other interests. There are some personal quests that he has done, but I want to go ahead and let him tell that part of it. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish up with that on November 30th, 2014, Dave launched the Space Out Radio. And he has been, near a decade as a journalist, and that has helped him with his style of interview, which is very, very unique. He has a very huge personality, and the listeners all love him. So let's just go ahead and bring him in. And I'm so thrilled. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here. Oh, thank you. Well, your hair looks pretty too. You've always got that great head of hair. I'm sure that all of your friends are very, very jealous about that. But I wanted, if you're kind of new to some of the viewers here, a lot of the viewers know who you are. You're definitely, your reputation precedes yourself. And I just wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of tell a little bit about yourself, some of the parts that I left out of the bio that you have also.
Well, I want to say first off, thank you so much for having me. And later on this evening, you'll be my guest on the show,
yes.
which is really, really cool. I love it when we can do back-to-backs like this, because it just makes it so much more fun and entertaining. I'm going to start off with saying I am somebody who is, like every other experiencer out there. We never asked for this. We never wanted it. We never expected it. It's awesome because it's great conversation. It's troublesome because it brings a lot of unnecessary drama and emotion into your life. It's all consuming where, for myself, I was a giant sports fan where, I needed my hockey, I needed my football, I needed my baseball fix, fishing all the time during fishing season. And now it just none of that seems to matter anymore. I can't tell you the last time I actually sat through a full hockey game, and watched it start to finish, or the Super Bowl, or whatever it may be, and that was hard because I was, when I worked in terrestrial radio, I was a sports reporter. So sports was my life. And then, when my experiences started in 2011, it really pushed me into a different direction that I never expected that I would go. And here we are today, 8.5 years later, we've become one of the larger radio programs regarding this. I don't like to call my show a podcast, even though it does go into podcast form, but we're on 8 terrestrial radio stations across Canada and the United States. We are, pushing the limits on nighttime radio to bring that woo factor and that nighttime spooky entertainment back on everything that we all missed from the days of Art Bell. and it's something that I feel is a calling. And, if this is the way I am to contribute to a bunch of awesome people that I've had the opportunity to not only meet, but to interview, then this is my duty to the community and to the phenomena.
Oh, and you definitely light up the night. That is for sure. Your show is so amazing, and it's so multifaceted, touching in so many areas. Not just UFO or cryptids. You also touch into the spiritual part as well of things, because you've had so many experiences yourself. Would you like to share any of those with us?
Well, yeah, I don't mind sharing a few.
Okay,
I, and we'll start off with on December 13th, 2011 is where it really fired up for me. I was always a believer in the phenomena. Okay. But I didn't know what it was all about. I remember, as a kid sitting around a campfire with your buddies saying, and I would say, I want to see three things before I die. I want to see a ghost. I want to see a UFO, and I want to see Sasquatch. I've now seen all three, but I never thought I would. That was just, maybe at that point, as a teenager, I was putting that out to the universe. I don't know. I saw my first UFO when I was 21 years old, and that was just an orange, to use a popular term these days, tic tac, that was flying through the air at night at about 2 o'clock in the morning, and
wow.
uh, and that was kind of interesting. I worked in a haunted building. I used to, when I was a hockey instructor before I went to college for broadcasting. The arena I worked at was completely haunted, and it was
Oh,
scary.
wow.
Some of the things that were happening there, it was absolutely scary, and I hated being in that building. I lived in a haunted house. I mean, 2013 is when I actually saw Sasquatch for the first time, but we could get to that later if you want. But let's fast forward to December 13th, 2011. The reason why that date is so ingrained in me is because we were actually having a party, a Christmas party for my daughter. My daughter was, well, let's see, she's 24 now, so she would have been 11 when that was going on. 12. She was going on a cruise with her mother's parents, my ex-wife's parents, over Christmas and New Year's. So we decided that what we were going to do is we were going to have her Christmas early rather than wait until the New Year. I mean, so we had all their Christmas presents under the tree. We put up the tree early. We invited all my family over. So my sisters were there, my nieces and nephews were there, my uncles were there, my grandmother, my parents, and we had a few friends. So we had about 22 people over who were paying homage to my daughter for Christmas being early, and she got to open up everything. And I don't have a close family, Lynn. Like I have, getting us together. I have more fun at the dentist than spending time with my immediate family. And it's so weird because like my father and I are very, very close, but I'm just not a family guy. Just one of those things. But sometimes you have to suck it up and do what's important. And so on this date, it was around 7:45 p.m. And I remember I got really pissed off with my parents,
Oh,
really upset because they announced that they at 7:45 they were leaving. I'm like, I got a house full of people here. This is for your granddaughter, and you're leaving. Well, my parents, not that it was an insult to me or my daughter or anything, but their addiction to Dancing with the Stars was apparently more important than spending time with the granddaughter. So I walk into my dining room. I walk through the kitchen, through the doorway to my dining room and my living room, and I'm kind of picking up plates and helping tidy up a little bit.
mhm.
And I'm so mad,
Oh,
so mad.
wow.
And I see my mom in the kitchen. through the doorway, and I put all the dishes and glasses that I had in my hands, and I go and put them on the dining room table, and I go to step through the doorway to give my mom a hug and a kiss goodbye. And that's when I noticed everything went silent. And I was standing there with my arms open to my mom, and my mom's open to me. And I realized that my mother's beautiful blue eyes were now jet black with her pupils
Oh,
white,
wow.
staring at me. And
Mhm.
I don't know how I knew. I get asked that question. Well, how did you know? I don't know. I don't know how I knew, but I knew I was staring into the eyes of the angel of death. I immediately got sick to my stomach. I immediately wanted to burst out crying. And then I kind of tilted my head to the right, like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? And my mom all of a sudden got this shocked look on her face, like, oh, you see me. She shook her head, eyes went blue again, sound, people talking, and on the television going all over the place. My mom comes in and hugs me like nothing ever happened. And I immediately looked at my partner. She looked at me. I stormed off to our bedroom, and she comes following up, and she's like, what's the matter? And I said, I just saw the angel of death in my mother's eyes, and I'm going to cry.
Oh,
And so, to define that a little bit, my mother is a two-time cancer survivor. Okay. And chemotherapy and radiation beat the tar out of her, and literally beat the tar out of her. And, this is a woman who, at one point, could barely lift a wooden spoon to stir her German borscht that she likes to make. Okay. And she walked to the doorway where my dad was, and I'm in the bedroom, and my partner says, well, gather yourself up, go say goodbye to your parents, and then we'll talk about it later. So do that. We'll see my parents off, and we continue with the house party. And about 9:30, quarter to 10, everybody had left. We got the kids ready for bed, and my partner then goes into our dining room and moves our dining room table, or pardon me, not our dining room table, our living room center table and the couches. She puts a bunch of white candles on the table because she's all into this woo crap that I'm not into. And she goes and says, I want you to sit on that couch over there. I'm going to sit on this couch. And she goes, I just want you to relax and tell me what you saw. So I sit back and I relax, and within seconds, I'm channeling the angel of death. I had no idea what channeling was, Lynn. Okay, to me, channeling was, I just happen to have a remote control right here. Grabbing a remote control and pressing
mhm.
the channel button up as far as you can to try and find something on television to watch at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. That was channeling to me. I had no idea about spirits entering the body and anything like that, but I ended up channeling the angel of death. What I have recall of, there was a recording of it, except thank you, Apple iPhone 3, for being as as terrible as it was of a phone at that point. To when they crashed, you lost everything.
Oh,
That's where
yes.
the audio went. But what I do recall of that meeting was I was absolutely amazed. Um, he said that I did see him. I wasn't supposed to see him, but because I did, felt he owed me an explanation.
Oh, wow.
He said that my mother was indeed still quite ill from everything her body had gone through chemo and
Mhm.
radiation, and that if we as a family didn't start taking better care of her, he was going to take her home. He didn't say heaven, he didn't say hell. He said take her home. And I remember asking, well, how do we do this? How do I keep my mom alive? And he goes, show her more love. Talk to the family about it. So I did. I talked to everybody but my five senses dad. I didn't tell him for about a year after. And to this day, my mother is still alive, and she'll be celebrating her 80th birthday coming up in a couple of weeks. So at that point, within 2 days, my house became completely haunted. We would see and hear spirits running up and down the stairs, down the hallways. Our daughters would be seeing spirits in their bedrooms and shadow people walking around. It opened a complete floodgate of spiritual activity. And then I started becoming intuitive, and I didn't realize that. And it started off the weirdest way, that I knew my friend was going to date a certain famous rock star. It sounds completely fake, because like who would pick it out? And I just happened to be at a concert 4 days after this incident with her and a few other people. And I saw this guy on stage, and I looked at her and I said, that's your next boyfriend. And 11 months later, they ran into each other at the Hard Rock Hotel and dated for a
Oh,
while.
wow.
Okay. And it just weird synchronicities just kept on happening. Now, do I consider myself psychic? No. Do I consider myself intuitive? To a degree. I don't practice it. I don't give readings. I don't do anything. When I'm around people who are in tune, then I'm rock solid. If I were to say, hey, Lynn, would you like to give me a reading? Or would you like me to give you a reading? I couldn't do it. I wouldn't know where to start, where to begin. I would question myself too much, whether or not I'm checking out body language or whatever it may be. I'm still quite skeptical of it all, even though my audience doesn't know me that way. They know me as, the conductor of the Woo train.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
this is what happened. And a few months later, after the angel of death, I started getting a little cocky with everything, and that I knew what was going on, and that I was grabbing, everything that kind of went along with it. And my partner's grandmother wasn't doing too well. She was 94, 95, 96, somewhere in there. She had a good run. And I'd only met the lady like 3-4 times, so I didn't really know her. And we got the phone call that we had to go because it was time to go to her hospice room. And horrible phone call for anybody who really looks at that. And we get to the hotel room, pardon me. I guess she didn't stay for long, but we get to the hospice room. And immediately when I walk in, I can feel the energy of the angel of death.
Mm.
Because that's one thing that I want people to learn and know, is with whatever experience you have, that energy pattern gets tattooed within you, so you never forget what it's like. I haven't dealt with the angel of death since then, but I do know that if I was in that scenario, like for instance, when my mother, in October, we got the phone call that it was time, because my mom was not doing very well in hospital. And I walked into her room and he wasn't there. I knew my mother wasn't going to pass. He wasn't there. I couldn't feel his energy.
Wow.
And so on this second occasion, getting back to my partner's grandmother's story, I walked into that room and I got real cocky because I could feel his energy. And I was like, come on, where are you? Where are you? I know you're here. And you'd feel the energy bounce around the room Like, it would go from, like, the upper top corner of the room down to beside the bed, to behind her, to behind you, to behind whoever else was in that room, and then it would go over by the doorway and then back over to the other corner of the room, and I was taunting it, and, "Come on, just show me. Give me a sign, show me, talk to me." And I could feel him getting aggravated, not upset, but aggravated that I was egging him on. And a couple hours later, about 9 minutes before grandma breathed her final breath, I was standing at the foot of the bed and I had my arm around my partner, and she's crying, and everybody in the room is crying because they know it's a countdown to minutes. And so grandma's feet are about 6 inches from me, and I'm right there. And all of a sudden, I'm staring at her, and I watched her spirit come out of the body.
Wow.
And it was oval shaped, and it was like swirling. It was like a thin football.
Mhm.
And I could hear in my head the angel of death saying, "Is this it? Is this what this is about? Is this what you want to see?" And then it paused there. I got a good look, and it shot right through the ceiling of the room, like a gunshot. And his energy was gone, and the spirit went with him. And I stood there and I went, "Holy crap!" Except I swore, and I started laughing. And my partner looks at me and she's like, "What's the matter?" Because she's crying. And I said, "Come outside with me." And I was just like, "Holy crap, you're not going to believe what I just saw." And so she's like, "What?" I said, "Your grandma's gone." "No, she's still breathing." I said, "No, she's gone. I watched her spirit leave her body. She's gone." "No, no, she's still breathing. You can check her out, and this is something that she could still make it." I'm like, "No, honey," I said, "she is gone." And I said it was absolutely incredible, because the reason why I considered it very incredible to me was because I have a complete fear of death, a complete fear of death. And for me to experience that, it was very, very surreal into the whole aspect of life after death and everything that kind of goes along with it. And we went back in the room, and of course, about 9 minutes later, there was the final breath. I was the first person I've ever seen die. Hopefully, the last.
Wow. And when you see something like that, as we talked before, that's not something that you can unsee. It does stick with you, like you said. And I've seen similar things happen with other people as well. And you're absolutely right. I, it was a beautiful gift and opportunity that you were given to get to share that part. I mean, it's a very intimate thing when somebody leaves their body, and it was thank you for sharing that with us, because it's a very beautiful experience, and it helps people to understand, not that, to help take the stigma of death and dying away. So please continue. This is great. Everybody's loving you, by the way.
Thank you. The big thing is, uh, the big thing was, it calmed me down. It calmed me down, but I also knew there was a lot more that I needed to learn. And in the coming months, I ended up having more paranormal experiences at my house. And I ended up meeting one of the most important people in my life, a gentleman named Pascal, who is my guru, my hero, my teacher, my everything. And Pascal is a giant of a man. He's 6'3". He's probably 330 pounds. You look at him, he's a balding, tall dude who looks overweight, but then he shakes your hand to let you know I can hurt you if I want,
Oh, wow.
but I choose not to.
Hmm.
So we were kind of telling him about everything that was going on. He came over for tea because he doesn't drink coffee. And and then it was about 11:30 at night, 11:30 at night. He goes, "Well, what are we doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Let's go for a drive." I'm like, "Really? At this hour?" He goes, "Sure, why not?" I said, "Well, I got to work in the morning." He goes, "So what? Catch up on your sleep later." Okay. So I looked at my partner and she's like, "Go." Because she had been to many of Pascal's um, uh, mentoring nights that he did, and so she knew him much better than I did. And so we sit in the car, put our seatbelts on, start driving, you know, and right after that he goes, "How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?" And I said, "All the way." He goes, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yep." He goes, "There's no turning back once we go." And I said, "I know, but I got to learn about this dead people thing and communicating, and I got to learn, and it's an itch I need to scratch, and I got a lot of questions." He goes, "Okay." So we started working together, and we started taking the time to work with people with each other on. Well, he worked with me and guided me through meditations and channeling experiences. And basically what he would do is he would meditate before working with me, and we worked on it once every couple weeks. He would work with me, and he would go through his own meditation on what I needed to learn. And it led to some very cool experiences. Those early nighttime drives, we would be driving along a road, and I would see shadow people on the side of the road, or shadow animals of deer and bears and coyotes and everything. And part of his healing process was clearing blockages within a person. And a lot of times what he would do is he would force me to go deep into a situation where I would get really mad, like traumatic, because he believed that everything that's out there really starts between the ages of 7 and 12, and he would try and clear a lot of those blockages from me. I don't ever think he got them all from me, but because I still have a lot of internal anger about my childhood and
Hmm.
everything. But um, then again, I guess what adult doesn't? You know, we're all scarred somehow.
Yes, we
But
are.
but he really opened me up and forced me to look inside myself, in what I wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish. And during that time, this is now entering 2013. During that time, the ghosts kept coming, the channeling kept happening, and my partner and I would go out on our patio and we would grab a beer or a glass of wine, and we would count satellites on a Friday or Saturday night. And which is so ironic because I was Mr. Party Time Friday, Saturday night before she came along, and then I became a homebody. And and so we we would sit on our patio and just count satellites. And um we started noticing a pattern of things where, when you're staring up at the sky and then all of a sudden you'll see this big flare up of white light, and then it
Hmm.
flares down. That will come into play later,
Okay.
because yesterday was the ninth anniversary of a major event that I will get to. Don't forget to ask me about that.
Okay.
And so uh, these flashes of light kept on happening over top of my house. And we just thought it was the satellites turning their lights on, or, maybe reflecting
Hmm.
on the sun, every prototypical excuse that everybody has. And so come around June, May, June, Pascal was like, okay, it's time to really start expanding things and we started doing some work in a dark room. Now, if you
Oh,
want
wow.
a really, really awesome experience, it's one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life. Go into a pitch dark room, okay? Like where there is no light source coming in. There's no light source from a phone. There's no light source from a window. There's no light source from underneath a door, okay? Or maybe anything. There's no light, completely, like to the point where you cannot see your hand right here. That's how dark. And Pascal and I go into this dark room and we start meditating. He takes us through a meditation, and we're about 3 feet apart, sitting in lawn chairs in this dark room in his house. And
Mhm.
we watched a solar system open up right between us above by the ceiling.
Oh, wow.
And it was like a galaxy that you remember the movie Men in Black, the original one, the first one.
Hmm.
Cat has the solar system
Yes.
around his neck, and when they looked at it, it was all swirling, and you would see
Hmm.
little rocks or whatever spin off of it. That's what we're looking at,
Oh, wow.
okay? And it's right above us, like at ceiling level, and we're just kind of looking up, like this is incredible. And
That
then the
is.
ghost, and then the ghost started coming. I remember looking to my left, and my deceased dog was sitting right there,
Oh,
and I remember petting him, and I remember seeing this face of this guy right here. I don't know who it was, but this face of this guy right here. But the funny part about it is what I'm seeing is not what Pascal is seeing outside of the solar system above us. Okay. It
hmm.
was completely different, completely different. And I would say, Pascal, like I would pass my hand in front of my face and I could see my fingers like they were glowing. Like, Pascal, do you see my hand? It's glowing. And he'd be like, no, don't see it, man. Like, how can you not see it? It's right in front of you here. Right. And he's like, no, I don't see it. But he was having his own experience as well. And we did this about 4 or 5 times. And then come May, June of 2013, he's like, what else do you want to see? I said, well, I've already seen a UFO. Now I've had ghost experiences. I really want to see Sasquatch. He goes, great. Let's put your mind to it. Let's bring in the intention and go from there. Well, July comes and goes, no Sasquatch. And I got a little frustrated with that. But September he came. And so my friend and I were able to see 2 of them within 100 feet of us. Uh, it's to this day, the second one was the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. I had a whole right side back profile of this creature.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I had a full back right side profile of this creature, and he never turned. There was no neck. There's a big pointy head. There
Oh,
was no,
wow.
and that's when things started getting awesome. Fast forward to 2013, I started seeing UFOs, and to the point where I would invite, 2014, it got to the point where I would invite friends over to the house on a Friday night and say, hey, it's Friday night. What are you guys doing? Oh, not much. Why don't you come sit on the patio? We'll have a drink. We'll have a little fire, my mini fire pit, and we'll watch some UFOs fly over.
There you go.
And that's when it started. But Pascal fought me on the UFOs. He fought me because I had seen Fire in the Sky, and
Hmm.
that movie really, really was traumatic to me because I believed it front to back. I didn't realize that when Hollywood said based on a true story, that it really wasn't about the true story, that they doctored it all up. But it's something that I look at it now, where back then it was like, okay, like I don't need them aliens around. I don't want to deal with aliens. And Pascal would say to me, well, what if you don't have a choice? And I would argue back to him. I would counter. I said, well, what about my free will? I'm telling you, my free will is I don't want to deal with aliens. Boy, did that backfire. Your turn. You speak for a bit.
Oh, well, no, I'm just enthralled and just engaging with you and envisioning all of this that you're seeing, because it's so tremendous. And our guests are too. We've got people in the room from everywhere, including Australia tonight, viewing this with us. Everybody, this is Dave Scott. And please do follow him on his SOR radio. He's out of Canada. So definitely he's got wonderful shows Monday through Friday, just so that you know as well. But I'm curious about that major event, though, thing that you asked if we've gotten to that point yet. I'm still got that in the back of my mind if you feel like going there.
Well, we can, because it's the second, or it was the 9th anniversary last night.
Mm-hmm.
Of this happening. And it happened at about 10 o'clock. So I was driving to our friend's house. And let me paint a picture for you first. These former friends of ours, they owned a 10-acre parcel of land with a house on it that had been in the family 40 plus years. And it used to be for training racehorses, the property. But over time, they gave up on the horses. The yard started to get a little bit more overgrown with brush and trees and everything. So their property was, if you looked at it straight on, there was only 2 houses on their street. Their property with 10 acres, their neighbor with about 6.5. Their neighbors were elderly. They were about their late 60s, early 70s, and they lived in a mobile home on the property, but way in the back they had a giant barn. And both properties were horseshoed by forest and a big ravine and a creek. And we're talking old trees here, like 90, 100-foot trees. Just gorgeous, gorgeous, healthy trees. And so this happened in Mission, British Columbia. And we were, I was going to meet my partner there after work, and I worked out of town, and I was driving there. And on my way back from work, I started getting a migraine. And back then I suffered from a lot of migraines due to stress at my daytime job. And so I ended up feeling this migraine. I pull into the driveway, I walk in, and I got my eyes half closed, and my partner looks at me. She goes, are you okay? I said, no, I got a migraine. I'm probably going to have a hot shower with a washcloth over my eyes for a while before I head to bed. And she was like, well, do you want to go home now? We can leave now. I'm like, no, you just got here. You wanted to have tea. I said, I'll just go sit on the couch and put a pillow over my eyes to see if I can calm it down and whatever. About half an hour later, I realized that it wasn't a migraine that I was having. It was actually shapes pulsating on my head.
Oh, wow.
It started off as a square in the front of my head, went over to my right side as a triangle, went over to my left side as a circle. And when the pain finally subsided, I got hit with an absolute anxiety attack that I needed to go outside. Something was outside. I needed to go see what it was, like right now. Like not 10 minutes from now, right now. So I turned to my partner. I said, I got to go outside. There's something there. She's like, oh, can I come with you?
Mm-hmm.
I said, no, you got to stay in here with our boy. Our boy was only like 9, 10 months old at that point. And so the other lady of the house says to her hubby, Dave is picking something up. We need to go outside right now. I looked at her, and her and I had a very good bond at that point. Not so much now. And she said, I said to her, no, he's not invited. He can't come. He's not invited. Why would I tell somebody they're not invited into their own backyard? So either way, we followed it. She came outside with me. We walk about 50, 60 feet behind the house. It was, if you know the West Coast and the lower mainland, you get these dark, dreary, damp, low cloud nights. It's not raining, but the mist is so thick, it just
Mm.
sinks right into your skin. It's actually a beautiful thing. And it was one of those nights, and we walked outside, and it's chilly, it's wet, everything's damp, and you could cut the tension with a knife. And so she goes, well, they called you outside, say something to them. So what do I say? She goes, I don't know, just first thing that comes to your mind. So I said, you called me outside out of God's peace, love, and light. Can you please show me where you are? Boom. On my command, about 150 yards away, in the back field in the neighbor's property by their barn, the brightest of white lights I've ever seen goes ripping through the trees of both properties.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And so I go, holy crap.
No doubt.
And immediately I start thinking 100,000 candle watt flashlight turned on my command. Okay. Are there people there? Do I see people in shadows? Do I see people moving around? Do I hear laughter? Do I hear talking? Do I hear music? How did that thing just hear me from 150 yards away when I am talking in the same volume that I am right now? How did it hear me? And I'm going through all the possibilities while in shock, staring at this thing 150 yards away. And I watch the lights turn off. And I said to the lady, oh my God, she goes, do it again, do it again. So I said, if you are of alien descent out of God's peace, love, and light, can you turn your lights back on? Boom, lights come back on. The bright white light is wider through the trees. It's brighter, but it was so bright, yet you didn't have to blink or cover your eyes or anything. Like, it wasn't hurting my eyes. And I kept feeling that there was movement there. And I realized, so I moved to the right where I could see beyond the trees, trying to figure out where this white light was emanating from. And I found an eye path, and that's where I saw this giant blue cylinder standing vertically, and all the white light was emanating from the bottom of this blue cylinder. And what I saw moving was this black cloud that was rotating counterclockwise. It would go halfway up the blue cylinder and then work its way back down. All right. And then it would go do the same thing. And I'm staring at this and I'm just like, oh my God, what the hell is that? Lights go out. Lady of the house who's with me says, let's go over there. I said, no, we're not going. She goes, I'm going to go. I said, you're not going. She goes, you don't tell me what to do. I'm going. I said, look, we don't know what the hell this thing is. I'm not walking back into that house alone if that thing takes you, because I'm suspect number one. I said, you're going to stay. I hate to say, that it was misogynistic or anything, or any of those funky new terms that everybody wants to drop at the drop of a dime. But I had to play my man card with that, because I was scared. And knowing the way society is, I'm suspect number one. So she stayed with me. And she goes, well, see if they'll turn their lights on again. I said, so just so I know I'm not crazy, out of God's peace, love, and light, can you turn your lights on one final time? Boom. Lights come on again. Just as white, just as bright. There's the blue cylinder. There's the black cloud.
Oh my goodness.
And after about 30 seconds, the lights go off. Then they power surge on, then off, power surge on and off, power surge on and off about 10 times. So remember where I was telling you the power surges above my house?
Yes.
Now happening right in front of me.
It all makes sense. Yeah, it's all connected. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Now,
So
go ahead. I'm
go ahead.
sorry. Have you ever had any type of feelings that you have been abducted or lost any time lapses or anything like that? Oh, and also people have asked some questions, but I'm just letting everybody know we're going to kind of let Dave go, and we'll kind of get into some questions maybe in the last part of the show. So keep your questions in mind for him, definitely.
All right. The abduction thing, I have to continue the long route here.
That's perfect. You go for it.
And I hope we're going to go for a break at the top of the hour because I got to grab some water.
Okay, but, we can do that.
After this experience, I didn't sleep for 5 days.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, I slept, but like 2-3 hours a night, wasn't a lot of sleep because I literally, the journalist in my head went to work. And I was searching Google and watching videos on YouTube and anything that I could find to describe that blue. To this day, I've only seen that blue twice. Once, about 2 years ago, there was a video out of Hawaii where somebody filmed a UFO that looked with blue light that went jumping it or dropping into the ocean. That was the first time. And then I haven't even shown this on my show. Let's see if I can find it here. And then the second time was somebody sent me a photograph. Here it is. Sent me a shot of 3 photographs that NASA doesn't want you to see. I'll show it. See the blue light?
Yes. Yes, I do. Very clearly.
See where they are?
Yes, I do. That is amazing. Wow. And they're clear. I mean, there's no denying that there's very distinct.
Absolutely. It's only 2 times I've seen that blue.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Wow. Yes.
It was incredible. So
it is.
On the Wednesday, the 14th, my partner gets a phone call from the lady of the house and states, hey, I've met a new friend. She's a lifelong ET contactee. She's coming over for tea tomorrow. Would you like to join us? Sure. I was off the next day. It was a Wednesday. And I hadn't been back to the farm since. So we get there at about 1:15 and meet this young lady named Samantha Mowat. And Samantha, if you don't know who she is, she's a little pixie redhead who looks like an alien. And she was my guest last night on the show. And she sees me kind of pacing around, and we tell her about the experience in the house. And she's like, you want to go outside, don't you? I'm like, yeah. She goes, do you mind if I come with you? Sure. So her and I start walking into the back field. It's a beautiful spring, warm day. It's about 70 degrees out. And it's not a cloud in the sky, a nice light wind. And I'm showing her in the backfield where the craft was sitting. She's very in tune. She's starting to pick up the craft. And, I brought my 2 dogs over from the farm, and the farm had 2 dogs. They used to run around and play. It was good exercise for the pups. And all of a sudden, Samantha kind of says to me, "You want to go in the forest?" I said, "Sure." She goes, "We're going to see something. We're probably going to see something, right?" I took a deep breath. I sighed. I said, "Yeah, I know." She goes, "But from what I know, ETs don't like dogs. So I don't know if we'll actually see anything." So we tried to shoo the dogs back to the house. They wouldn't go. And it was like the dogs knew where we were going, because they followed us, and they were running ahead of us while we made small chat about the UFO and everything. And we're almost at the gate to enter the forest, and we watch all 4 dogs, or I watch all 4 dogs run into the forest. And so we walk into the forest, and the dogs are running around. We get about 50 yards in, and Samantha stops, and she gets this perplexed look on her face. And she goes, I'm like, "Is everything okay?" And she's like, "Dave, where's the dogs?" So we start looking around for the dogs, and they're gone. 4 of them.
Oh, wow.
So, like stupid white people in a horror movie, we keep going. And we walk another 50 yards into the forest, and Samantha is getting some feelings and some vibes, and she jumps up on this tree stump, and I'm about 18 inches from her, and she's got that look on her face again, and she goes, "Okay, Dave, I don't want you to be afraid, but I want you to look that way and tell me what you see." So I take a deep breath. I turn to my left. I look. "Samantha, what the hell is that? Samantha, what the hell is that? The hell is that, Samantha?" That's all I could really say, because 200 feet in front of me is a 10 to 12 foot extraterrestrial standing there,
Oh, wow.
staring
Wow.
down. And I saw the head, I saw the neck, I saw the body. Didn't see a face, didn't see arms, didn't see legs. And it was huge. The body was thin, but huge as in height. And immediately, I didn't know what to do. I knew I wasn't running. I wasn't trying to escape. I just stood there and I took it all in. But during that time when I was taking it all in, as I stayed to Samantha, I wasn't scared of what was going on. I was scared as a 40-year-old man that no matter what I had learned up until that point of life, God is good, devil bad. You're good, you go to heaven. You're bad, you go to hell. Out of all my parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, relatives, elders, coaches, teachers, you name it, nobody ever taught me what it was like to be face to face with an alien. Okay. And this is my introduction with a stranger I met 25 minutes before. And I started to panic inside. I didn't see the second being, but Samantha starts telepathically communicating with this guy who's about a 6-foot alien gray, but he's not gray. He is brown, tan in color. And he says, "You are more than welcome to come on over and say hello. We're not here to harm you. We're not here to take you. However, we worry about the man's health." Now, remember, my entire idea of aliens was fire in the sky. So Samantha says to me, "Do you want to go?" No. Come on, they're not going to hurt us. They've already told us that. Let's go over there. No, Samantha, I'm not going. Come on, it'll be okay. You can trust me. No, I'm not going. I have free will here. I don't want my free will challenged here. I'm not going. Fine, then I'm going. I'm like, please don't. And I begged her to stay. And I literally told her point blank. I said, Samantha, I go back to that place alone. I'm suspect number one. And I just met you. Please don't put me in that position. Please. And I begged her to stay. So she stayed with me. And we just stood there and looked at him for about another 10, 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden, her and I started getting a calling that there would be more aliens that we could see if we went to a different part of the forest. So we did. Said goodbye to these two, thanking them for showing us. Walked to the other part of the forest. There, 10 minutes. I didn't see anything. Walked back to the original spot to see if they're still there, and they're gone. We start to walk towards the house, and unbelievable about this experience. And we get about 30, 40 yards from the gate, and we are met with 4 dogs coming out from the gate saying, hey guys, how you doing?
I wonder why did you ever find out why they don't like dogs, if you don't mind my asking?
Just Samantha's experiences.
Oh, wow. Because some people were asking too if they like cats,
That I don't know. Cats don't care. They know cats don't care.
Yeah.
Cats, if you talk to anybody who has animal communication, cats do not give a care. They think we are beneath them.
That's true. That is
Okay?
very true. Yes.
It's kind of how it goes.
It does. We are coming on to the top of the hour. If you wanted to step away and take a break, this story is amazing. We can definitely, this experience, pick it up on the other side if you want to get some water, or we can continue whichever you want to do.
Give me a couple minutes.
Okay.
I really need to grab some water.
Okay.
And I'll answer any questions that your audience has when I get back here.
Okay, that's great. Plus, also, we want to hear the rest of the story to finish. So I want to hear about Carl. So
yeah, good old Carl.
Yeah, you can't leave out Carl. We also have some people in here from Japan. People are here from all over the world this evening watching you, and they're just absolutely loving that you're here sharing your experiences. So it's great. Thank you so much for being here.
Let me grab some water.
Go ahead.
My voice getting a little raw, so I'll be right back. And then we'll have round 2.
Yes, we will. Absolutely.
With my favorite, Lynn Monet. Hey, before I go, I want to remind everybody that if you go to my YouTube channel in 3 hours from now, so whatever your time zone is, in 3 hours from now, Lynn is actually going to be my guest on Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're talking all things paranormal, supernatural. So we're going to flip the switch, and I will be interviewing Lynn tonight. So you get a double shot of us if you like. My channel is Spaced Out Radio. Okay. If you do yourself a favor, hit subscribe and ring the bell. You'll absolutely know when we're going live tonight and every other night, because we're there 7 days a week. So I will be right back. I'm going to go get a drink of water.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to continue the party. That's for sure. So I definitely have your questions ready for him. These stories and experiences are amazing. I'm sure that a lot of people can definitely relate to a lot of the things that he's talking about. As this show, we like to encourage people to congregate. This is a next level paranormal where we are sharing things because we've experienced them and we already know that these things exist. We aren't trying to prove to anyone that there are ghosts or Bigfoot or angels or things like that. We already know that. So it kind of has that relaxed flow to it when it comes to talking about things, and nobody's wrong here. So that also adds into the part too. But I wanted to mention while he's on break that I've got a few things coming up as well. And we have an excellent guest that's going to be coming. His name is Bo Polney. He'll be coming on the show next week with us. He is an analyst. He does a layout sheet of different biblical records of all different types of religious prophecies and things like that he lays out on the calendar to see where things are going to shift and change. And he is, I wouldn't call him an astrologer because he's an analyst, and he says that he's not a prophet, but man, some of the stuff that he predicts is just really, really almost creepy, scary, accurate. Because I mean, he actually predicted the day that Roe versus Wade would be overturned, and he was correct. And he's been predicting things all along. So right now, according to him and some of the shows that I've watched, it's BOPOLNY. He's on several pretty big programs of watchdog.com for one. He's also on with David Rodriguez. And he definitely has made some predictions that are happening as we speak, and helps guide people as to what to prepare for, which I think is really, really very, very interesting. So we're thrilled to have him coming on next week. And as far as I'm just looking here, we've got Mercury retrograde going in on the 22nd, and it's going to be kind of a long one. We are in the shadow of it now, so everybody keep your receipts. Just keep in mind that communication is screwy, that anything that you buy, you may think it's beautiful right now, but then after Mercury goes direct, it's not so pretty anymore. Like I said, keep your receipts. Also, cars tend to break down, electronics tend to go haywire, and all of those sorts of things. Communication is screwy. Make sure that you double check anything that you're signing that's important, that you've read it thoroughly, that you have a good attorney to look at it with you before you sign that. But the communication, and we are only in the shadow, and it's a little bit of a rough one. It will be covering most of the month of May. So things that can be done during Mercury retrograde, or anything basically with a re in front of it, where remodeling, redoing, reflecting, cleaning out the garage is a good one too. Anything with a re in it, in the sense that it's also something that things that you have planned for prior to the Mercury retrograde are usually okay during retrograde, but you just have to keep an eye. Like if you're traveling or something, expect delays. Also expect to drive right past your own street. That happens frequently with me during Mercury retrograde, where I'm not paying attention. I'm just driving down the road, and all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I just passed my street. That communication is clear. A lot of times things when Mercury is in retrograde, or the shadow of Mercury retrograde, things can be misunderstood, and documents can become, disappear on you, and you have to redo things. So all of those things. On a happy note, Jupiter is direct. So that's our benevolent money planet. It also makes people gain weight. So, kind of, if you don't want to gain weight, you might not want to, eat the whole bag of M&Ms like I like to eat. So, so there are some good things with that as well. And anyway, I just wanted to mention those things, because I'm sure that some people, I personally was born during a Mercury retrograde. And so I kind of get a double helping in a sense of it. And I'm kind of used to it that way. But it is very, very easy to miscommunicate or be misunderstood during that time. And definitely, if you meet somebody new that comes into your life, or you decide to change jobs or to change something else, there's sometimes something hidden, that you will then be able to see afterwards. You might meet a great guy, and then all of a sudden you find out that he's married when Mercury goes direct, or that he's a drug addict when Mercury goes direct, or a woman for that matter. So definitely, you want to be aware of those things, that you don't put all your eggs in one basket with somebody that you've met new. I'm just looking at here, slow motion driving past your street. We call that having a senior moment. Yes, I'm going to be 60 next month, actually. And that's another thing with Dave Scott. His birthday is about 10 days different than mine, and 10 years different than mine. So we kind of have that commonality between us, and a little bit of a teasing in that sense that we're both May babies. But definitely it is a senior moment. I also call it a brain something else, but a senior moment could definitely be what I'm experiencing now. But I'm so happy that everybody's here tonight. I'm not able to see the chat as well as I'd like to be able to. I'm kind of in a process of learning here, so I appreciate so very much all of you and your patience. And definitely, I'm looking here, invested in intense chocolate, 72 and 92% low fat, high antioxidants. Yes, it is. If you like that flavor, I know some people that can eat it very, very bitter, and they love it. It just, if that's your thing. But that's true. It is very, very. It's got those antioxidants in it, so definitely, it's not such a bad thing to eat with that. But yeah, and I appreciate, again, everybody being here. If I haven't acknowledged you by coming up on the screen, I do thank you very, very much for being here. So I'm also going to take a few sips. Dave should be back here in just a couple of minutes. Here he is.
Hi.
And we will continue. I was telling them about how my birthday is next month and I'll be 60, and how your birthday is only like within several days of mine in May, right? But there's 10 years difference and 10 days different, I think. When is your birthday's in May? When is your birthday?
24th is mine.
There you go. Yes, we are 7 days apart, so 1 week apart, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are 1 week apart, 10 years and 1 week apart. He kind of likes to tease me about that, but that's okay. So I'm actually having fun with the idea of being 60. So yeah, that's very, very cool.
You don't even look close.
Oh, well, thank you very, very much. Also, everybody, Dave Scott's throwing a big party in Las Vegas for the SOR radio. And I'm still hoping that I might be able to squeak in there for that. I've got the time off to do it. Again, it'll be a last minute kind of thing, but I haven't given up hope on being able to do that. So
we hope you can make it.
Yeah, I hope so too. I would really love to do that. So anyway, you had left off with your friend wanting to go to investigate the aliens, and so
yeah. So we went back to the original spot and there was nothing there. So we walked back and the dogs came running out and walked back to the house. And as we were walking back to the house, Samantha pulls me to the side and she goes, "Have you ever been taken before?" I said, no, I haven't. And she's like, there's a good chance it's going to happen now. Just remember, it doesn't hurt. The funny part about that, her and I stopping, is a few years ago, she got really mad at me about that because she had zero recall of her stopping and telling me that. And I recall it clear as day. And what we figured out happened was that the beings that we saw actually channeled her to say that, and she had no recall of it. Dave will be 50, not 70.
Yeah, no, yeah, Dave, and he doesn't look like he's going to be 50 either. So, yeah, I'm the older woman.
So. That's a different story, but that's where it got interesting, and that opened up a beautiful friendship between Samantha and I that is to this day really bonding and close, and we've kept in touch ever since.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah. Fast forward to September 30th of 2014. That's when a lot of tension happened between the people at the farm and myself and my partner. And they started doing some really, really weird stuff. And it was just very high strangeness out of the blue, where they started blaming us for things, and they wanted my daughter to come over, but they didn't invite us. Really weird things.
Yeah.
Later found out that the lady of the house was very much about the experiences happening to her and she couldn't handle that they were happening to me. And it broke up the friendship. Never went back to the farm after that. And which is too bad, because there was so much high strangeness happening around that property with ghosts and Sasquatch and UFOs and aliens and everything. Like, the farm was incredible. If I could have afforded to buy it, I would have, but it just never got to that. And now that property is worth a couple $1 million, as properties go up. And I'm like, damn it, I should have taken the chance on that, prior. But no, it was an amazing experience. Then September 30th, I felt like I needed to channel, and I was sitting on my patio and waiting for my partner to join me. And, I was meditating. I had my eyes closed, and I could see a little gray dude peering from behind her chair. A lot of times, and people who are spiritual understand this, you see a lot more with your eyes closed than you do with your eyes open.
That is so true.
And I said to this little dude, I'm like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And he quickly pulled back. Well, that night, him and his two buddies came and got me. And I woke up on the table with, it was like a metal table, but it wasn't cold. My face was like in a donut, much like you would a massage chair or a massage table. And I picked my head. I felt little fingers, like children's fingers, in my hair. That's what woke me up. And I picked up my head. I looked to my right, and it was darkness, but I could see light coming from the left. So I turned my head to the left and looked down, and there were three little gray dudes there. They were wearing blackish silver bodysuits. And I went, oh, holy cow, I've been taken. So I just put my head back down and wondering what they're going to do. Next thing I know, I felt what felt like a knife cut open the back of my head right here. And the first guy who had moved to just over my left shoulder, he started pulling on that skin.
Oh, wow. Oh.
And I was like, that doesn't feel very good.
Yeah.
And I heard what I thought was a saw. I don't know what it was. It sounded like a saw. And that went right into my skull. And the second guy was trying to dig his fingers into my skull to kind of pull it up a little bit, where it felt like the third guy was now trying to push something in, like an implant. And I remember starting to scream, like, Samantha said this wasn't supposed to hurt, and it hurts. God, does this hurt? This sucks. And then I heard Samantha's voice say, it doesn't hurt, Dave. Don't worry, it doesn't hurt. And the next thing I know, everything turned ticklish. So now that I'm kind of giggling a little bit, I just let them do their thing. And then my good friend Lorian Fenton always laughs when she hears this, because she says, Dave, this is how I know your story is true, because no one would ever make anything up like this. I had the urge to pee. And back in your younger days, your bar star days, most of us had them, where you never wanted to break the seal because you knew you'd be running to the bathroom every 10 minutes afterwards. It was like that. And I started screaming at them. I'm like, through that donut, like, guys, you got to hurry up. You got to hurry up and get me home, because I got to piss like a racehorse. I have to go to the bathroom. I'm going to pee all over this table. And I could feel them all of a sudden getting a little bit antsy, like, he's awake. We got to hurry up. We got to get him back. Next thing I know, I wake up. I'm lying on top of my covers, which is what I never sleep like. And my face is buried in my pillow. And I don't sleep on my stomach because I have troubles breathing out of my nose. Too many hockey fights back in the day. And I get up, the back of my head is just pounding, and I run to the bathroom, and I literally took the greatest piss of my life. And I stood there for, I brag that it was about a 5-minute one, but I don't know how long it was. And all I know is that when I relieved myself, it was the greatest bathroom break that I have ever taken.
Woohoo!
Day. Yeah. And that's when I realized that I had been taken.
Wow. And do you still have issues with the back of your head, or were there any marks or anything left?
My head is pounding right now as I every time. It's funny. It never bothers me until I tell the story.
Really? Wow.
That kind of
That
starts pulsating just to kind of like, hey man, guess who's still here?
Yep, you're talking about us, and
Yep.
they're definitely want to make it known.
Yeah.
So is that also when you met the you were talking about Carl, the
Oh,
one in
Carl.
your bio? Is that when you met Carl?
No. Um, so this was September 30th. October 2nd, I had a friend over who convinced me to start Spaced Out Radio. We launched Spaced Out Radio on a Monday, Sunday, November 30th, Monday, November 30th, 2014. And I'd met a gentleman over that time named R. Keith Andrews. A lot of people will think he's just an absolute wingnut, but he had a lot of really cool ET stories. And just one of the most nicest, pleasant human beings I've ever met. And I had interviewed him. Him and I kind of became friends. He's like, hey, if you ever have any ET questions, feel free to call me. So I was like, cool. So on this particular night, it was April 20th, 2015. I went on the air and I interviewing a gentleman named Harvey Kraft about Buddha of all topics. And let me set this up a little bit because I'm a type of guy where I always have night lights on outside. Okay. I always have lights on outside. My outdoor lights are always on. But for some reason, this was day 3 in a row. I'd forgotten to put them on. And I had built a little makeshift radio podcast studio out of my daughter's old bedroom, which was right beside the front door. And about 17 minutes into the show, to my left is where the window is. I see something move out there. And Harvey's talking, and I'm thinking, oh, crap. My 2 dogs are going to start barking. And at that point, I had a Chihuahua dachshund where a crosswind would be 30 minutes of barking, and she just didn't know how to shut up. And a few minutes later, I realized there's still no dogs barking. And I'm thinking, okay, there's no, like, all my friends know I have the radio show going, and who's at my door? So I put Harvey on mute. I turn my swivel chair and I look out the window, and there is a giant alien gray head staring back at me out the window. So I did what any man would do. I screamed and I fell backwards. I text my partner, alien at the window, get in here now. Because we weren't on YouTube at that point. This was just podcast type radio. And I jumped up before I texted my partner. I jumped up and looked out the window, and this thing was gone. If it was a human being, I would have seen it run. Okay, I would have seen it run down around the corner of my garage. I would have seen it run to the front of my house. I would have seen it run. All the meantime, I've got my headphones on and Harvey's yapping away like nothing going on. Right? My partner comes in and her hands go beet red from the energy and heat right up. And this is a lady who always has cold hands. And so after the show, I called up Keith. I said, Keith, this is what happened. And he goes, yeah, what do you expect, Dave? Like, what do you mean? He goes, dude, he goes, you got to realize the signal you're putting out with your topics is shooting right into the universe. Anybody can hear it, or anything can hear it. So he goes, this is what I think happened. He goes, between your neighbor's house and your house, he goes, I'm going to assume it's about 20 feet. Never been to my house, doesn't know what my house looks like, doesn't know the subdivision I live in. He doesn't even know it's on a hill. He goes, but I'm going to assume there's a slight hill knoll going down between your properties. I said, yes. He goes, okay. He goes, that's where his ship was parked, because that's what he's showing me. There's no way he could have known that. No way. He lives about 400 kilometers or 250 miles from me. He's never been to my house, never showed him a picture. We never FaceTimed. Okay. And here he is describing the exact scenario between my neighbor's yard and my yard. And he was telling me how his ship was parked right in between. And he ran back to his ship and took off. So over time, I decided that I needed to name him. So I named him Carl. And in 2018, I had moved houses. And a lot of times, and to this day, I'll get people asking, when's Carl coming back? I don't know. But on this one particular night in August of 2018, Carl came back. And so my show is 3 hours. It was about 11:35. I picked up his energy. And I was talking to a good friend of mine, Olaf Phillips, on the air. And I said to Olaf, I said, Carl's back. He's like, where? I said, I don't know. I'm looking out the window. I can't see him. But I know he's back. I could feel him. He's here. He's here. So we finish up the show. I run outside, go through my carport, and I have my two vehicles parked down below outside of the carport. And while I got Olaf on the phone, I see like this yin and yang of this Nike swooshes go right in between my vehicles at about 6 feet. Goes between my vehicles and then came back and then disappeared. So I was like, I got to walk over there. Olaf, you got to be on the phone with me. I got to walk over there. So I walk over there. There's nothing there, but I could still feel the tension in my yard. I have about half an acre. Okay. And I said, Olaf, I got to let you go. I'm sorry. I got to let you go, but I got to call Keith and see what's up with him. And so he's like, no problem. I hang up the phone with him, call up Keith. Keith just happened. This is now about 12:30 at night, 12:15 at night. And Keith just happened to wake up and grab a glass of water when I had called. And I said, Keith, I need your help. I said, Carl's back. And prior to that, I was standing on my patio, which is above my carport. And do you remember the movie Signs, when the boy is sitting on top of the car and he holds up the baby monitor and you hear that?
Yes.
Well, I'm listening to a conversation, one in my backyard and one up my driveway in the front yard of and I call up Keith, and Keith, first question he says to me is, have you heard anything strange going on? And I said, yes. I said, I hear this clicking sound like from Signs, this. Mm-hmm. And then he goes, no, does it sound more like this? And he did this thing with his throat. I said, that's it. And
Mm-hmm.
the being in the back must have heard Keith because it responded to Keith.
Oh, wow. That is so cool.
And
Yeah.
so I'm standing on my patio. I'm listening to this conversation. Keith is trying to draw them in closer to me. They won't come closer. Okay. And he picks up that there's 3 of them. There's one up the driveway by my trees in the front, and there's 2 in my backyard that are standing really close. And he's saying that I'm now freaking them out because I'm not moving. And when people pick up their energy, people usually run and hide and leave the situation to be safe. But I haven't moved yet.
Yep. They don't
So
know what to do with you. Yeah.
after it's now about 1:00 in the morning, and I start feeling that I'm being called to this lake that is about 2 miles from my house. And I'm I'm explaining it to Keith. So, dude, I'm feeling I got to go here. I have to, they're showing me a mothership and there's going to be more aliens there. He's like, well, go. So good. You're coming with me. So I grab my keys, I hop in my vehicle, and instead of turning right towards the lake, I turn left, take 10 minutes, run to Tim Hortons, grab myself an ice cap and a donut, because just in case I'm going for a ride, I don't want to be empty stomached. Drive back to the lake, and I sat there for 45 minutes, and there was nothing. Nothing. Not even a satellite or a shooting star. Nothing. And I didn't want to get out of the vehicle because I'm in bear season. I'm in mountain lion season up here. Mountain lion versus Dave, not very good fight. Bear versus Dave, not very good fight. Kind of one-sided.
Somebody had asked what part of Canada that you're from in one of the questions that had come up earlier.
I live in central British Columbia. So West Coast. I'm about 5.5 hours northeast of Vancouver.
And it's beautiful up there.
Yeah.
It's just great.
Yeah.
And bears, yes, definitely. Bears and all of that. So
that is my best encounters.
Well, did they ever leave with you any kind of messages or anything like that that you felt compelled to tell anybody? Maybe.
When I say maybe, they could have. I don't recall.
Okay.
They haven't given me a lot of clarity. But what they have given me is I have experienced a lot of things that people have claimed as fraudulent with other people. Okay. So for instance, Stan Romanek he ended up being not a very good person, but he was famous for the alien at the window. Carl was an alien at the window. Okay. There were a couple other instances that I'm just not recalling right now because I am a little tired, but there were a couple more instances that have been like that where people have had experiences and it's turned out the same for me, and it's been kind of interesting to watch that. It really has.
I bet that it has. That is just, I'm in awe of what you're saying. Where's the popcorn? This in itself all that you're talking about is just, I'm enthralled. And everyone else is very, very happy to listen to your experiences as well. And a lot of them are concurring with you. And we are going into the last half an hour of our show tonight. Boy, has an hour and a half flown by here with Dave Scott from SOR Radio. Definitely roll over. The party's going to keep going on, people, tonight. On the East Coast, you can connect in at around midnight. And then, of course, we go across taking an hour off on time for that until you get to 8 o'clock, which would be the time that the show would start for Dave. But definitely, and make sure that you do subscribe. He's got great stuff on his show, and a thumbs up and comment definitely comment too. I'm sure that Dave would appreciate hearing from everybody. But if we can get some questions pulled up on here, I'm sure that Dave would be happy to answer those. I know that there were several of them. Vixen Doe had one that, and also here we go. Michael Lynch. Dave has earthen chip in the base of his skull. Wait, Dave has an earthen chip in the base of his skull that is transmitting to the Greys.
Possibly.
Yeah. Have you? This is Dr. Michael Lynch. You two might want to meet each other too. He's got some interesting stuff to share.
Cool.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah. I will definitely hook you up. You will like him. And there's a couple of others too that would it will just blow your mind with some of the stuff, and it matches right up with what you're saying. So, and do you find, you were mentioning too that you have migraine headaches and things like that also, and maybe that is some kind of a chip in there. So they beat the government to it. I don't know about Canada, what they're doing over there, but they're talking about doing it over here for sure. So are there any other questions? I know Vixen Doe had one that maybe we can bring up that she wanted to have answered, and also our friends, the Horns, had one also that was asking something. I believe hers was asking something about, in the beginning when you were talking about some of the work that you were doing, was it some kind of a shadow therapy or shadow work? I believe that's what she had asked.
No, we weren't doing any type of shadow work. When we were working on the farm, there was rules on the farm. Okay. There was no photography allowed. There was no recording devices allowed, no cameras allowed. And the reason why they did it that way is they wanted the phenomena to feel as comfortable as possible. So when we were there was no drinking. If you were a pot smoker, there was no marijuana allowed. If you were on any other type of prescriptions, you couldn't come investigate there. They wanted to make it as clean and as peaceful as possible. If we could have recorded the crap that was happening there, it would have been incredible. Most of my really fantastic experiences happened on this farm.
Oh, and wow.
Yeah.
I'm looking also here to see, I know that there were a couple of questions, and I'm having help. Let's see. Question. Dave Scott, when you saw the universe, did you feel like you knew all the answers to all that there was?
Not even close. Great question. Not even close. It didn't open up any answers to us. It was letting us view. Okay. And I was so in awe and enamored by what I was seeing. I wasn't open to any messages. And I don't believe Pascal got any messages from it either. What it made me believe afterwards was, exactly what, Horton Hears a Who, or Men in Black in the original one, that how many universes are out there that we can see through the stars through a telescope, but how many are out there that are so small that we'll never see the true size, where we're the giants, right? Where we're the gods.
Mm-hmm.
No. So it opened up a lot of questions for me.
No doubt. No doubt. Absolutely. When you were talking about Carl also, it seemed that he had come to visit you multiple times. To me, it was almost like he was making friends with you in a way. You had that comfort level with each other. And perhaps someday, you may connect with him again. You may actually be able to communicate with him.
He'll be back. He'll be back. I just don't know when. Like, I can tell you right now, he's closer than he has ever been since 2018, but he's still far out there. And I'm saying like millions upon millions of miles. Okay. Wow. He's still far out there, but I know he's closer. Like, if I were to tune in right now, I would say probably within the next 2 years, he'll resurface. Maybe 2 to 3.
It would be amazing if eventually you could connect telepathically in whatever language you're speaking. I have a feeling that may eventually open up for you. I mean, with the implant and the things that they've placed in, with to the back of your head, and even talking about them, they're connecting in with kind of listening in on what we're talking about them. So, and all of that's very, very interesting as well. I'm hoping, that they'll be able to do that, with you. That would be very, very interesting, and I'm sure that they will eventually do that, because they will. I've also seen some alien things too, but not anywhere near as detailed as what you've shared with us. So thank you very much for that. Absolutely. Is there anything else too that you've done so many things that I don't even know where to start. I mean, you've told us so many good things that you might want to share with us.
Well, I think I have become, or I want people to know that I am not a researcher. Okay. I am an experiencer. I am a journalist. That's who I am. And I don't profess to have all the answers. I do like to read between the lines to try and put those answers together and interview people about it. I never know when my experiences are going to happen. I shouldn't say I rarely do. I've been starting to meditate more on a daily basis. I try and meditate daily. Usually that's in the shower in the morning. By the way, if you ever want a great meditation spot, sit on the floor in your shower and just let the hot water bead down on you and just kind of push it all out. It's fantastic. Works for me.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like it would be. Plus the noise, that it kind of drowns out things too.
Very, very
Yeah.
cleansing. But
I want to try the dark room thing that you mentioned also. I think that's very interesting.
Let the experiences happen. Like I'm to the point where now I've been doing this long enough where I don't care if people believe me or not. I don't have any proof. Like my biggest argument, if you listen to Spaced Out Radio right now, you get everybody, well, you have no proof. You have no proof. We just can't take you at your word for your story. I don't care anymore. I used to care. I don't care. You're either going to believe me or you're not. And I don't say that to sound shuttered or to be a jerk or anything along those lines. I just don't have time for the negativity or somebody trying to call me out as a liar or somebody who is doing this to try and make money off of the phenomena or is Spaced Out Radio a business for me? Yeah, it's a business. I can fully tell you it is a business, but I am not, as a journalist, I'm not in the business of making things up to lead people on. It doesn't suit my career choice very well. And so I get a little testy sometimes when people say, "Oh, you're lying." Like I had one guy, he heard the story about the forest, the aliens in the forest, and he's like, "That's BS. That didn't happen." And I messaged him back because it was on a public forum. I messaged him back and I said, "You were there?" Because I don't recall seeing you there. I recall seeing Samantha. I recall seeing me. I said, "Do you even know where Mission, British Columbia is? Which tree were you hiding behind if you were there to call BS on what I'm saying?" And the problem that we have in this field, and I apologize, I'm going to go political here for a second.
Go ahead.
The problem that we have in this field is we have it doesn't matter whether it's UFOs, cryptids, ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
We have taken opinion as fact now. This is the only field that I know of where opinion is treated like fact. So there are people out there who have an opinion about my experiences, your experiences, or whomever's experiences. And they'll say, "I don't believe that." But they'll do it in a more vulgar way because they're looking for that aha, caught ya moment where one day you said the sun was bright and the next time you told the story, you didn't mention the sun. Well, was it sunny or not? Aha, caught you lying. right? They're looking
Mhm.
for that. They're not
Yes.
taking the entire story. And the problem that we have is we have decided that opinion is fact. And that's damaging to what we're all trying to learn, because the one thing that the phenomena has taught me is that there are no two instances alike. They may be similar, but there's no two instances alike. And when you have so many free range type experiences, like Lynn, I've never seen what you've seen. You've never seen what I've seen. You know, you may have seen a Bigfoot, but your Bigfoot may have had reddish hair. My Bigfoot had brown hair that looked red in the sun.
Hmm.
Difference?
Yes.
There is, right?
Yes.
It may be.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And it's
So
like,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. And it's also like you said, when you were with your friend Pascal, you were seeing things, but he wasn't seeing them. He was having a different experience that didn't make either one of you wrong. And it didn't make it that those things were not present at that time, because they were
Absolutely.
very much present with you. And everybody in this room totally believes what you're saying and can concur with what you're saying, because this is next level paranormal. And so please continue. I mean, everybody's agreeing with you. And then we had one other question after when you're finished. So
Yeah. So my big thing is, and what I try and tell people is this, okay? Get over yourself, your opinion, and that includes me. So I don't want you to think that I'm preaching to you or I'm talking down to you, because I have to remind myself of this as well. Our opinions don't matter to the phenomena. They
it's
don't
true.
care if you're Republican. They don't care if you're a Democrat or a libertarian, or up here in Canada, if you're a conservative, a liberal, or a Democrat. They don't care what your hair color is, or your age, or your sexuality, or whether you're binary or non-binary, or whatever you want to be. You want to be a dolphin? Fine. The phenomena will accept you as being a dolphin. They don't care what color you are. They don't care how old you are, or whether you're an adult who still has physical limitations where you think as a child, you know, or if you are Einstein. They don't care. They don't care what religion you are. The phenomena is the one thing that we are trying to understand, but we are putting limitations on it due to opinion. And when we lose that opinion on things, we're going to get more answers. This is why I tell people on my show,
So
be
true.
careful of what is happening in the UFO world right now, because what we're seeing is not disclosure. We are seeing a confirmation of the phenomena, and disclosure looks nothing like what we are seeing, because disclosure means you're going to tell us all, and they aren't
Absolutely.
telling us all. They're hiding things worse than before they even came out with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, as I mentioned, there was one other question. Chris, if you've still got the question, Dave, do you see any similarities in your guests that have experienced high strangeness?
I would say yes. Chris, great question.
I'm
I,
strange.
I find that a lot of my guests are timid to talk about it, but
Hmm.
once they
Yeah.
are comfortable, they're emotional about what's gone on with them. If they haven't told their story a lot, they are scared to tell their story. Most people who have had experiences have lost friends and family members because of their chosen disbelief of said experiencer. Um, a lot of people have lost jobs over this. Here's an interesting one. A lot of people, including myself, have noticed a reduction in salary since this has happened, whether it's through job loss, whether it's through budget cuts, or whatever. I know people who have they went full on woo with the phenomena, trying to figure out what was going on. They went from low six-figure salaries down to making $40,000, $50,000 a year in the exact same career. Don't know why. The phenomena hates money. Okay. And trust me, I I will say this about money. I've had money and I've not had money. My life has always been better with money. I'd never believe that quote that you don't need money to do anything. Not that I'm greedy or anything like that, because I'm totally not. I if I got money, I like to share it with everybody, but it's weird how the phenomena has literally financially taken its toll on a ton of people. Here's the other thing too. A lot of people, when they go down the rabbit hole, all they see is negative coming out. So you look at them and they start doing tarot card readings, or they start making psychic predictions, and you look at it, it always seems to be negative. When's the world going into World War III? When is the world collapsing? When are we running out of water? When is climate change going to nail its boots to us? When? And it never seems to happen. Yet there's a lot of people who've gone down the dark side of the rabbit hole. So there's a lot of similarities to what is going on. That is for sure.
Absolutely, with that. We all of us feel so very, very fortunate to get to connect with another side of Dave Scott and his sensory side and softer side also, I would say. And we really, really have enjoyed this. We are coming up into the last 10 minutes. We'll take any last questions if there's one more. If not, we'll start to wind down. Are there any other questions at all? I know that they are absolutely enthralled with you. Here we go. They say, thank you, Dave Scott. Very interesting. I've seen people say that they have listened to every word that you've said. And again, you've been a fantastic guest as usual. You're a fantastic host. You're also a fantastic guest. And I feel so honored to have had you with us tonight. With that, everybody, again, Dave's ribbon for contact is running across the lower part of the screen. He does have SOR radio Monday through Friday starting at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Is that correct? Pacific time?
9 p.m. Pacific.
9 p.m. Pacific time. And for each of the time frames, of course, you're going to add an hour onto that to the east side, which would be around midnight. And definitely reach out to him, watch his show. He also has, as he says, a plethora of things in his shop that he also offers, to have fans that are able to collect with. He's got a young man that Dirty Filth, that does beautiful drawings in anime type things also. Oh, and I was thinking of one more thing, just real quick, if you can mention this one too, that I forgot to ask you about. I remember one time you were talking about having to go into the darker, lower areas to pull a friend out, and how that lost you friends. Do you mind telling us that story real quick?
Yeah. I almost said no.
Okay.
A friend of mine passed away. He wasn't really a friend. He was an acquaintance of mine, and best friends to my best friend. And he died. And I started concentrating on it and seeing where he was, because he was very atheist. He was very much, he was a young man. He was only like 30, 36, 37 when he had a major heart attack and died. And I went in meditation. I astral traveled over to him because I knew he would be struggling. And I saw the stairway where he passed away. And everything was dark. And I remember him saying, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Dude, I'm here to help you." He's like, "Where are we?" I said, "Well, I'm here to break you the news that you died." He's like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, man." He goes, I just don't believe it. I'm like, "Yeah, man." I said, he goes, "Well, why is everything so dark?" And, I could see these giant rat-like creatures that were starting to surround him, like in the darkness. And his feet were stuck. He couldn't move. So I said, we're going to we're going to get you out of here. And I said, we're going to. So I took him, I said, take my hand. And we astral traveled to one of our favorite fishing spots. And he's like, how did we do that? And I had to explain that on this side, you can go anywhere you want. You can do anything that you want. Well, that was a really cool experience, and I was really helping him out. And it got to the point where he hung out with this lady who was married. They were best friends, but they were absolutely in love with each other, but didn't want to wreck what each other had in order to come together. And I told her that I went and visited him on the other side and helped him out. Well, she gets a hold of the sister. And the sister was like, hey, if he can you explain the story? And I did. And I said, but you can't tell anybody. Long story short, a few months later, I get a call from his twin brother who says, so do you know I was calling? And I said, no. He goes, well, I guess you're not too psychic then, aren't you? And I went, I never said it was, and that's not really how it works. And he goes, you stay the hell away from my family. Otherwise, the next time you're in town, you'll end up like my brother. And I said, well, first off, let me clarify a few things for you. I said, your family contacted me. I said, out of respect to you, I said, did they tell you that? Did they tell you that they contacted me? And he's like, no. I said, your sister contacted me. Your niece contacted me. Your mother contacted me. And I said, I have no problem telling them out of respect for you and your loss. I have no problem telling them that I do not wish to have communication with them anymore. But you're going to explain why. And that happened after I lost my best friend of 28 years because of this. He told me I was full of crap and sick of where I was going. His wife, who was a very good friend of our families, or it was his girlfriend at the time. I didn't even get to, didn't even get to go to my best friend's wedding because he hates me over this. And 28 years of friendship over this. There's a lot of loss when it comes to that. And we think we're helping people. I haven't done it since to help anybody. I won't, because I won't be put in that situation again. When my nephew passed away from fentanyl in 2018, and he, it's upcoming to his birthday here this week, he would have been 34. I went in and got him because I knew he'd be lost. Found him on a bench in a park. The cool part about that one was my two grandfathers and my grandmother were there. And that was the first time I saw my grandmother on the other side.
Oh.
My grandfathers. And my grandmother died of just of old age, I think, while my nephew was still in the womb of my sister. I think she was about 4 or 5 months pregnant at that point. And that was the first time I'd seen my grandmother. And she said hi to me. And she just stared at him with the biggest, most beautiful smile, pardon me, in her face. And she was just staring at him like that was her boy. And
what a treasure.
Yeah. And I remember telling my nephew, you have to come with us now. and we have to go see your mom.
That is so amazing.
And I remember telling this to my sister, and it opened up a whole lot of really freaking cool paranormal stuff. He took me and my sisters right to where he died.
Oh, wow. That is so amazing. That is so amazing.
When we went to collect his stuff, I was driving. My second oldest sister was in the passenger seat. His mom, my oldest sister, was in the back seat, and we went to the rehab house that he had left to go get a hit, and didn't know where we were going. And I said, well, where's this park? It was somewhere in Vancouver. I'd heard of the park before, just 2 + 2 wasn't making 4. And I went and I said, come on, buddy, you got to help me out. And all of a sudden I hear his voice in my head, turn right at the lights, uncle. So I did. Turned right at the lights. And the park was right beside me. And I happened to see, it's a big park in Vancouver, and they have, these city parks, they have people who take care of them. So this lady is driving in this John Deere utility vehicle on the grass. I pull my vehicle over. I run over to the grass. I stop this lady, and I said, I'm sorry to bother you. I said, but there was a body found here last Thursday. And I said, that was my nephew, and his mother is in the back seat of my truck. Do you know where the body was found? And she goes pale as a ghost. And she says to me, oh my God, I'm one of the 3 who found him.
Oh.
And she goes, I would love to take you to the spot. And she goes, follow me.
I got chills. Yeah.
And we followed her. And he passed away at a picnic table, just like he was sleeping. He passed away at a picnic table, and we were sitting at that picnic table. His favorite bird was a hummingbird. And right before we were getting ready to leave, we watched this hummingbird come straight out of nowhere, hover about 2 feet above us. And it just hovered and hovered and hovered, kind of like, I got this. Here's where I am. And then the hummingbird took off straight into the blue sky until we couldn't see it anymore.
Oh, what an amazing thing. And a confirmation too of having him do that. We are actually at 2 hours. Tonight has flown by. Thank you so very, very much for being such an amazing guest with so many experiences. I wanted you to tell that last one because Dr. Michael Lynch, that's in the audience that asked you the question, has also some stories about going down and retrieving people that will back up. It's a validation for you. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, sometimes people say they don't believe it. Well, we believe it because there are other people in the room that have had similar things happen. So it's all good. But again, I wanted to thank you so very much for coming tonight. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of hours. Woo-hoo, everybody stay on that roll of the party going on, and definitely go on over to SRO Radio. I need to drink something too. My mouth is a little dry. SOR Radio to see our wonderful guest Dave Scott tonight, and I'll be on there too. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening, everybody. And good night, Dave. I'll see you in a little bit.
See you in a little bit. Much love.
Thank you. Yes, much love. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.